Last year, on a garbage stop-motion action figure channel.
A man has fallen into the river in Lego City. Start the new rescue helicopter.
Motherfucker!
On Fox 5 tonight, production of Transformers 3 derailed. A crash involving a local police officer and Bumblebee.
你别笑 Uproars woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Trump and Hot Rod just bought it.
Why is yogurt night so difficult?
We're gonna be talking about We'll be talking about
lunch at my favorite deli.
We'll be talking about the
Stocking up in the local grocery store.
Yes, we're also gonna be talking about
Or simply editing my videos. I'm always drinking Coca-Cola.
Now, onto our regularly scheduled dumpster fire.
So when I started this garbage fire masquerading as a YouTube channel about 3 years ago, there was always a Transformers character who I felt got completely mishandled and borderline disrespected on the figure end of the coin. Ironhide has had a tragic history of cringe-inducing shit-pile attempts of capturing his original design, and despite him being a famous, well-known original G1 character with a simple, blocky, marketable design that should not have been this big of a dumpster fire to emulate, the issues with the seeming simplicity yet actual complexity of his design have left Hasbro engineers stumped for the last 36 goddamn years, and the attempts for the most part have absolutely sucked. The G1 version was an ironic meme made into an unironic action figure. The Combiner Wars version's a soulless generic retool of something that was mediocre to begin with, and the Classics version's a man-made horror beyond our comprehension. But then the Siege version came crashing into store shelves in 2018 like a friggin' freight train, premiering as my first ever review and blowing my expectations out of the water in the process. It looked, for a minute anyways, like the perfect G1 style Ironhide was right on the horizon. And then Earthrise shit out a lazy-ass retool where 40% of the transformation was ripping a giant hunk of clear plastic off the van mode and shoved it into a 2-pack that requires you to go through SCP-001 with nothing covering you from the burning heat of hell that the sun is shitting upon you. It just kinda sucks, because Ironhide's a design that seems like it should be so friggin' easy for them to hit the nail on the head. Until you start to break it down and digest how the geometry would actually work. I mean, I get where the limbs are gonna go here, but how the hell am I supposed to stuff the entire surface area of half a goddamn minivan into his chest? And even the limbs are kind of a tricky bitch to sort out, because it has to go around something this wide and boxy. He's literally too boxy for G1, and that's saying something. But lo and behold, the Studio Series 86 line came in and slapped me, my expectations, and my fucking wallet into next week with a stunning new G1 style Ironhide being sold as a Voyager.
But stop-motion reviewer, Voyager class figures must be at least 7.13 inches tall to be worth the money. Hasbro committed a stinky by making a smaller Voyager more focused on engineering than kissing a G1er's ass. Hasbro
Studio Series 86 Ironhide is the newest addition to my collection, and I can confirm that he is absolutely worth the price point despite the size.
Mostly.
The Vignette mode right here is absolute peak performance. This shit right fucking here is what the ideal male body looks like. I mean, honestly, how do you get any better than this? This Vignette mode smashes the shit out of any past attempts on an Ironhide that we have ever gotten. It's so goddamn unbelievable how much of a Roger Rabbit effect this figure produces to the naked eye, despite the few missing details that left room for improvement overall. It might not have its yellow stripe on the side like the original toy, but getting the side of his Venmo to work at all has been a task that Hasbro always manages to screw up on a monumental scale. And holy friggin' Luya, they finally nailed it. It'd be a shame if they use clear plastic on one of the most stressed out joints in the figure that undergoes constant stress and is located directly under the center of gravity of his friggin' robot mode, causing me to go in a rage and do Screamathon after a large fragment of said piece shears off like peelings off a fucking potato peeler. But ignore glaring QC issues and consume product. It's the American way. The red they use as its primary color scheme is the most extreme patriotism type of red that they could have possibly used. Being so goddamn sharp, it can cut you from looking at it. There is some minor color variation in certain areas of the van because fuck you, clear plastic, but it's also so unnoticeable that it basically doesn't exist until the thing starts fucking disintegrating on you, giving you a sense of existential agony at the fact you nearly spent $40 on the fucking thing. The few panels of this van mode are lined up in areas that make it look like such a fluent and natural part of the figure, leading to an incredibly satisfying end result, with no gaps, no panels falling off, mostly, no hollow feet hanging off the back end of his vehicle mode, and an incredibly tough outer shell, making this a roadworthy, hard-ass mobile ready for all kinds of hero nonsense. The one problem I have with the van mode are the fucking tolerances. With a vehicle mode that has to compact this much density into it, I have to say there is literally zero margin for error on this thing if you want it to transform the right way. And that leads us to the horror show part, which is the clearance issues on the top and back halves of the van. These fuckers take a level of force that the Hulk would need to use, or requiring the finger dexterity and precision of a fucking brain surgeon to get it lined up into place without the figure exploding on you. And let me tell you, it is a horrifying process. I had to sand down the clear plastic tabs on this thing with fucking 60 grit sandpaper very carefully in order for this thing to physically transform the right way. And in the process, I gave myself about 15 fucking coronaries, and now I'm living off 3 cups of coffee. I find that the back has a lot of trouble staying tabbed in as well, and I cannot find any cause for it. Unfortunately, the caveat of having a perfect vehicle mode is requiring nothing shy of perfection in the way you transform this thing to actually get it to work. The transformation on Ironhide still showcases some of the most sophisticated engineering we've ever seen at this scale. The legs dissect and fold up into like 9 different component parts that all seamlessly incorporate into some big old robo stompers in the most genius way possible. And then the arms, torso, and head take some inspiration off the Siege mode and somehow make it even more fucking extra, forming what is essentially the most flawless Ironhide we have ever gotten. For a transformation with so much going on, Hasbro really outdid themselves on giving this thing an excruciating degree of simple tune accuracy. His head sculpt on him has that confident, "I'll kill ya, yee-haw" smile going on from certain angles, while also being stern and serious as fuck from other angles. But it's susceptible to paint chipping that you can only really notice if you're face blasting him with an LED right into his optics. But can we take a second to talk about the chest? Like, this fucker had to fit the diameter of half a goddamn minivan into this chest, and they somehow managed to compact into this small, refined, and clean chest with 0 faux parts at all. The posability pretty much lives up to the standard of a traditional chug figure, with a couple of bells and whistles here and there that go slightly beyond a normal deluxe. But the stability of the figure is where this thing really shines, because it is rock fucking solid. I animated a walk cycle at 24 frames a second on this thing, and it was the easiest time I've ever had on one, and that includes my Marvel Legends figures, which don't have the burden of having to redistribute vehicle mode parts and have them hanging off their asses to transform. It balances effortlessly on its own merits, with no poster putty needed to hold it down, no angle cheating, and nothing to get in the way. Except the piss-poor construction of the figure. Fuck! The arm on my copy cannot for the life of me rotate without falling off at least once whenever I try to animate with it. And the joints got super loose on the robot mode due to the attempts of trying to fix the clearance issues in vehicle mode. The tabs that hold the bumper into place have pretty much disintegrated off at this point in time, but the biggest issue I have with this figure is, son of a bitch!
Oh look. Clear fucking plastic. The most durable and long-lasting material on the face of the planet, not at all the thing causing thousands of breakages on Transformers figures across the country. Aw, Windows error. Aw, existential dread.wave.jpg.
With you have any idea how much I saw this shit coming? These windows felt fragile right out of the box, and I knew the second they went under a point of the robot mode that was going to put it under constant stress that it was going to break sooner or later. It's so fucking predictable that a basically flawless borderline masterpiece figure would be downgraded this fucking hard because Hasbro continues to cheap out on using non-sucky, non-flimsy, non-garbage materials. I think Transformers fans have to face an uncomfortable reality that Hasbro is charging us a holy hell of a lot more for a holy hell of a lot worse. And for a deluxe size figure that was damn near $40, I shouldn't have to look at every joint on the figure every 30 seconds to make sure it's not disintegrating on the molecular level. I don't want to sound like Chevatron or Optobotomus complaining about very minor areas of cosmetic flaws while I manhandle their figures like a dipshit, but having people constantly bitch at me because of issues outside of my ability to control is a genuinely annoying gaslighting tactic that entitled fans use all the fucking time whenever they see somebody who has a breakage that isn't commonly seen. So do I still think you should get this figure? Yes, absolutely. It is unbelievably gorgeous. You're going to need this in your collection someday. But do I think that you should also be critical and not jump to conclusions that the figure is automatically a budget masterpiece until you've played with it a bit and figured out if it can take the stress of constant play? Also, yes, it's my job as a figure reviewer to be critical on figures when they have glaring idiotic flaws or have potential for breakage issues. It doesn't mean that I fucking hate them. It means I'm getting sick and tired of having to be so careful with figures that continue to skyrocket in their price point while continuing to go down in quality. And it really sucks too, because Ironhide is otherwise a slam friggin' dunk, and honestly one of the figures of the year, with a gorgeous robot mode, a ton of articulation that's perfectly balanced, parts redistribution that's nothing shy of witchcraft, and a clean, nicely detailed, simplistic vehicle and robot mode with a Roger Rabbit effect that is unbelievable. It definitely feels like a worthwhile collector's grade figure that you're gonna have to handle with a heavy degree of care, but at the end of the day, isn't that all we really need as collectors? I can't stay angry at him. This guy's my little pog champ. Now fuck off and just let me be happy with him.